guys, it's that time again. It's time for the Retro Buzz. This Friday, everybody looks forward to Friday, not just because you get out of work, but because you get to see this guy. This guy sitting right here, the Planet Tomato, the Palomino, Glenn Planamento.
Planamemo.
Planamemo. Yeah, you know what? I try to get every single one that they messed up with you, but I always forget that one. How you doing, sir?
I am doing good. Again, another Friday's here, another Tech Buzz episode, Retro Buzz episode, which is excellent. We have good guests on today. Very excited.
And we've got Chris Jericho, Douglas Cool Toy in the house.
Good evening, good evening. Pleasure to be here.
You usually have your hat on. It's usually backwards, and nobody gets to see the whole and clean shaven today. So he's looking
the
dapper.
Coif and everything. Yeah.
He's looking dapper today. So welcome.
Appreciate it.
And we've got the true celebrity in the house. No, he hates when I do that. We've got Stevie Richards in the house. StevieRichardsFitness.com. Welcome back, sir.
I made up for Doug not having facial hair, and I forgot to shave for about a week and a half, so we're even.
You're going with the mountain man look. That's all right. Hey, I do it too. My wife, she don't mind.
My wife and I dream of kind of having, like, you remember the opening of Shooter with Mark Wahlberg? That's kind of like,
there you go.
Like if any government agents try to show up, we take, we're not going to accept them. But we need good internet, and we also need some arcade machines, so it all bounces out.
So for the next introduction we have a special guest with us that it's a package deal today, and I know Michael gave me the introduction. We've got the man, the myth, the legend, the creator of RetroMania from RetroManiaWrestling.com. We've got Mr. Michael Hermonn. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me. Hey, guys.
Well,
welcome.
I can't live up to that introduction. I'll tell you that right now.
Michael, did I get that right? Did I say that? I mean, I know you paid me good money to say that, so I did the best I could.
Sounded pretty good.
Yeah, he's definitely bringing something back that people didn't even know they were pining for since the 90s with this game. So I gotta put it out there right away that a lot of people our age are gonna be able to relive childhood memories with members of the roster or members of wrestling from past, present, and future.
Wait a second. I thought Justin Timberlake did that. He brought sexy back. What's he bringing back here? What are we doing here?
Where's my barf bag?
So Michael, Mike Hermonn, why don't you get into this a little bit? Talk to us a little bit about what you're bringing to the retro community.
Well, I was growing up through the 90s, 2000s, we had a lot of choices for video games as far as wrestling. You had the three promotions at the time: WWF, WWE, WCW, and ECW, of course. All had games out, multiple games, and you had import games. You had other like Backyard Wrestling, Legends of Wrestling, and then the last couple of years, and then of course Fire Pro. Can't forget Fire Pro. But the last couple of years, it's really just been WWE games, and then Fire Pro came out with one maybe 2 years ago, Fire Pro World. But really, we had no other options. There was none of that. And what I really loved was that arcade style 2D game. Matt Mania's, WrestleFest, of course, Superstars, Saturday Night Slam Masters, Wrestle War, 3 Count Bout. All those games I loved growing up, and no one was remaking that. With all the other remakes that we have nowadays, no one was giving wrestling games any love. So I decided, well, if no one else is going to do it, why not me? So that's what I did. So we started up about 2 years ago.
Very, very cool. I know Glenn's chomping at the bit for that game.
I am. I think I'm an unlockable character in there, right? You put in that up, down, left, right, 1, 2, 1, 2, and I'm out there.
Yep.
I go right for the eyes, though. I'm definitely a girly fighter. I'm going to scratch your eyes out. That's what I do.
Well,
every good wrestling game needs a jobber, right? So.
Right.
Well, have you ever played a fighting game with Glenn? I mean, it can't be any worse than playing a wrestling game with Glenn.
Nope, not good.
So
I can admit it.
So Michael is here as well, and you guys know Michael's been on before. You guys know Miss Stevie Richards. What role do you play in this game, as for somebody that didn't see the last episode and the painful process that you've been going through.
Yeah, well, it's really anything to help out. I mean, like I said, it's kind of been my way. I think I said in the last episode, video games and action figures were the only things that I really see in with my childhood. It's truly immortalizing myself within the wrestling business. It's really cool to have action figures. Really, really cool to be blessed to be in a lot of video games. And now, when the opportunity came along with RetroSoft Studios and Michael Hermonn, it was a great symbiotic relationship. Especially, I get to mix everything into one, and also have my brand, Stevie Richards Fitness, uh, kind of infused for eternity into story mode. And also, the podcast that I do is Conspiracy Horseman with three other pro wrestlers, Greek God Papadon, Big Sal from ECW, and Ben Hameen, are also going to be in the story mode for the game. So to have that kind of stuff and to be able to contribute by game testing and doing all sorts of other stuff, and the PR stuff's going to be fun as well. It's truly a blessing to have that opportunity.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Like I didn't know, I didn't know Stevie, Michael.
see, you have the same problem that I have.
Yeah.
It's just reversed though. He can't say
Yeah.
Michael.
But yeah, like we didn't know each other at all through this. I think I had met him once when he managed a video game store in the town I grew up in.
Wow.
And he's only a couple of years older than me. So I was probably, 18, 19, probably when he was managing that. But I've gotten to know him a little bit, and we have a lot of the same interests. And initially it was just like I wanted to, license him to be in the game. But once we started talking, he is helping out with so much more, and it's been great. So we together got the Stevie Richards arcade machine up and running, or still a work in process. But he might have lost a little hair in that one. But but just that was the start of it, and then we're just going to continue to work together. And now we're going to PAX East together, so it's been great.
We tried, Glenn. I have to say I tried to help him as best as I could to get that thing up and running, but you just can't fix when people send you broken parts.
Yeah.
You just can't do it. Do we? I have to ask. I know this is a little bit sidetracked.
On that.
Well, I want you to comment on this because, so the last time we left off, your buttons weren't working right, which you and I had figured out that one Saturday. The buttons weren't working right. You got new buttons. Some of those were broken. Do we finally have everything mapped, and is it working?
Absolutely not. So I will say this. Like, I think when Michael and I have become friends, and we're just with all the love we have for the same stuff, but also the fact that, these challenges both with creating a video game from pretty much scratch, but then the arcade stuff and everything we're experiencing, I always try to turn every negative into a positive. And I know it sounds truly cliche, but it's been a great opportunity to really see the community, especially Steve, Doug, Glenn, and everybody else, reach out to me or be on FaceTime to kind of walk me through some of the stuff. So I see those experiences as more profound, and with Mike to be able to test the game out as truly something. I'm not going to get, man, there's more to life than getting mad because the cam locks aren't drilled out or this or remapping buttons. I'm not always like that. Mike has seen me texting. They said it's easy. It's not easy. Like,
my wife's got a screwdriver and fixing the T-molding.
Oh man. It's stuff like that though. Like, just getting back to that, like, I'm not going to ever, we said this last episode, I'm not ever going to get on here and say so-and-so this or that or the other thing. But I think my review video, I got the same message across without kind of coming off like really crappy about it.
Well, I mean, there's a fair assumption.
Things, when you get something, there's expectations.
That's
there's
right.
Expectations when you get something that it's reasonably all there. It's reasonably all the parts are there. You're able to put it together. When you run into a challenge, it's always one product out of 1,000 that's bad. But when you have continual problems, even after you're getting resupplied and still having problems, it gets frustrating. and I would not want to be a hammer or anything near you right now. I wouldn't want to be like smashed into the wall.
Let's talk about one more positive very quickly. The thing I think that's more powerful than anything is starting out with this particular, setup, and then looking at a Legends Ultimate, looking at all this stuff, which Michael will get mad when I say the solution that I was looking at initially that's in the gym right now is more like a PC or Linux, where the At Games Legends Ultimate is more like a Mac, where it's really easier and plug and play and all. Listen, that mini PC that you sent me, dude, you want me to start talking about that? I'm just
That's
kidding.
user error.
My text yesterday just very quickly was, hey man, he goes, yeah, there's something up with your deal. You might have to restore it. I go, is that easy? And he goes, what do you think?
Wait a second. So you got
honest.
you got a 3% with a PC that he sent you?
Amazon sent it. Amazon sent it. And he installed all his Mac software on it and broke it.
Wait a second. Did you do coin ops? Is that what you installed on it?
Well, I did coin ops initially, and then I did Launchbox, and he was on the phone with me because I wanted to see how it was working, and then put the RetroMania game on there, and there's some kind of conflict between one of those. So I'm probably gonna have to delete everything or start all over again.
Oh man.
Yeah, the issue is MAME won't even run on its own. There's some video driver issue with it. So
you better get Glenn and Doug on speed dial and
yeah, we can do like a remote PC session, do like a go to my PC or something like that, and I'm sure we can get it going.
Oh no, Mike was on there for like over an hour after I went to bed. He was still on.
We tried that, and I tried to download like their Intel it's one of the what are they called?
Integrated video chips?
Well,
integrated video chips?
No, it is. Yeah, it definitely is. But it's one of those. What's the brand name of the machine I sent you?
It's an Intel NUC.
Yeah. So it has like Intel has a driver application that will automatically check for new drivers, and we can't even get that installed on it.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what? That's not uncommon. Those automatic things are not worth the toilet paper you wipe yourself with.
Right. Well, I've used it.
More of a problem.
I have 2 of them, and I've had no issues with them because that's what I use to demo the game on currently. And that's why I sent them the exact same one I'm using. I don't know. Well, it's PC though. It's not unexpected.
I will say, well, Steve knows better than anybody after knowing me for so many years. It's definitely not unexpected, but it's I'm thinking about just running boot camp on my Mac and testing the game with that.
I thought I had him. I thought I had him flawless when I made a copy of my image of my RetroPie, my whole setup. I had it. There's no Linux stuff, so it ask Michael. It boots right. It looks like a console booting up, right? I got rid of all the Linux script. And there's nothing. It comes up to a nice flash screen with some custom graphics and music. Goes right into it. He can select system. And for some reason, he could not. And I even wiped out the config file for the controller, so he had to set it up from scratch. And it's still not letting him configure his joysticks.
Right. Oh man!
I tried. I did. I tried.
Well, Steve, I'll give it a go. I'm tagging you guys in. Tagging in.
There you go.
I'll give it a shot next time.
As many holes as I tried to drill through the control panel, it didn't seem to work.
Speed holes for better playability.
Oh man, I just know it's frustrating, and I know he just wants to play. Say it. You just want to play some dang games, right?
I never knew video games was so much work. So yeah. I'm okay with it, man. This is all a great experience, a great learning experience. Hey, the cabinet's together. I wasn't there a month ago, so it's together, and it's all good. It's all good. And I honestly, though, for people that don't understand, it's also eye-opening to see, and Doug and Glenn and Mike, you can comment on this. I can see why people just buy console games, PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, just start it right up, go. And I can see why there's such a huge market for that. This one has a lot of heart involved and all that stuff, and it's great with the community, but I can see why people just want to hit that PlayStation button, start up, and play their game in 5 minutes.
Well, that brings up a good point when people buy like an arcade one-up or the at games, because a lot of people will say, I can build my own for 50 cents. I can build a whole cabinet and get it running. That's what you got to do. But there are some people that don't have the ability, or they have electronic double thumbs. Steve, electronic double thumbs. And you run into those kind of problems. So, so there's definitely a market for it, but sometimes it is just easier to go hit a button and start playing. And most of the retro gamers just want that, and that's why they sometimes don't download pre-done images. You're running into some challenges. I think we can fix it. So don't lose hope yet. But you just put a very good point, because I see so many comments from so many people saying, just build your own, just do it yourself. It's not really that easy if you don't know what you're doing or haven't had a lot of experience in doing it.
And even if you do know what you're doing, it's, it goes back to that whole time is money thing. And sometimes it's just better to spend the extra buck and save yourself the headache and the hassle of messing with, wasting an entire weekend or a couple of weekends, trying to troubleshoot things that, yes, you may have the technical know-how to actually go through with it and figure it all the way you need to. But I mean, sometimes you just rather have that time back to yourself.
Yeah, I think, if you want to build something, it's a cool project to do if you have the time to do it. Exactly what you guys are saying. Because I did build my first MAME cab. Me and a friend of mine, we built 2 of them, like 10 years ago. There was a book called Project Arcade that was out. We bought it at Barnes & Noble, and we followed instructions in there to build it. And it took us like 4 months of working maybe a weekend here, a weeknight there. But now, that was before I had kids too. So now it's like, I don't have the time to sit there and go through it. I'd rather skip that part of it, but I still like messing with the software. I just enjoy it. So,
but this is why you got guys like us that are out there doing tutorial videos and getting frustrated for you. So I'm going to use this as a segue to point out some of the videos that are out there. Doug did one just this week. I don't know if you guys saw the flash sale that he put out, but I actually picked up one of the
political ad.
This is look at Doug is all getting he's getting all Rico Suave here. So Doug gets on and does a nice video on syncing up the Legends Ultimate with your Kindle Fire Stick, no matter which one you have. And then Doug, correct me if I'm wrong, you posted later that week about a flash sale that was going on with Amazon, that you could get it for $25, which I took advantage of, and I bought one because I had a regular one. But there's more horsepower with the 4K, right?
Yeah, the 4K one's got a little bit of more GPU processing power and everything. So it's obviously going to be your better, bet to go with as far as being able to run more games and more powerful games on it. But the flash sale is something I was really happy that kind of coincided with me putting out these videos, because when I originally purchased my 4K Fire Stick, I got it back on Black Friday when it was also $25, which is a heck of a price. I mean, they're not making any money at this point. They're obviously just trying to get people to sign up for the Prime service. So that's great for us, the consumers, that we can take a very powerful little device like that, plug it into Legends Ultimate and access games and not have to pay an arm and a leg for it. It's very easy as far as the configuration. You can add some high-level advanced games on it, play that way, or you can just play on the included Amazon, App Store games. So it's really, as far as how detailed and how deep in the woods you want to go, that's how deep and dark you can go with the Fire Stick. You can sit there on the surface level and just play those app level store games, or you can, side load different configurations and softwares to where you can play even more games. It really just depends on what kind of experience you want to get out of the Fire Stick. But for $25, you really can't beat it.
That's what I was really impressed with the library that they have. Have you guys, not to turn this into an Amazon Fire commercial here, but I was blown. I've had one and it's sat in a drawer. Because Michael, that I have the Tech Buzz network app where you can watch this live on a Fire Stick. So I bought one because my developer was building it, and I just wanted to see what it looked like. And then I didn't know what to do with the thing because I have Roku and Apple TV. So what do? I throw it in a drawer. And then Doug comes out with this video, and I'm going, darn you, Doug. Now I got to go buy another one.
Yeah, I'd say that in our household, we have nothing but Fire sticks, Fire TV sticks. I think they're very underrated. And when you do a comparison between the streaming services and how you can sideload apps to play games and other things, other media consumption stuff, I know how to sideload APKs, Mike. I know how to do that. I think last time I checked, I did it right. But yeah, $25 to have probably the best, most open streaming piece of hardware, and now be able to bring your own games or be able. It's called Blast sticks or something for Legends. So it's a form of that, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, the Legends got the blast dongles, but they're a lot of the Atari. They're Glen games, as I call them. They're
and there's nothing wrong with that. Thank you very much.
All right. So before we get into some of the gameplay here and let these guys go through it, Glenn, why don't you do some talking about your recent Kickstarter that I think a lot of people are going to be interested in, and I'll pull up the nice graphics for it.
Yeah, this is something we've been working on really since last April and May, and like anything, it takes time to get things rolling. So this morning we finally launched the Atari Star Wars yoke controller. It's live on Kickstarter now, and I'm actually shocked. It's been live for about 8 hours, and last time I checked, it was just under like 95. There you go, just under $9,500, with a goal of 30,000, and we still have 29 days to go. So I'm very excited about this. And again, a lot of people ask, what's so special about this? Their Arcade One Up has their Star Wars arcade, and there's also the Allen
Wait,
One.
stop. Somebody just bought something. It went up to 9720.
Hey,
nice. Thank you very much. And you know what? I've been getting a lot of messages from people, and I'm really shocked. Like, I'm pledging the whole thing. You make great products. I want to back you, and that really means a lot when people say I'm backing you simply because of your previous products and they believe in what we're doing. And the beautiful thing about this is, if this does go, which I believe it's going to at this point, make it through, we have planned so many other controllers, because my belief, when you're playing these games, especially in the modern games, so you have your Xbox controller, your PlayStation controller, the Wii controller, it's just one controller that's mishmashed to play all these types of games. And there are certain games where the controller is really integral to the gameplay. So my ultimate goal is to make different controllers for different genre of games, and we have a lot of things planned. I'm not making any secrets that I've talked about light guns. We have a very good light gun technology that'll be coming out in the future. We also have a drive-in controller, a shifter, pedals. Uh, so a lot of things are coming down in the future. But I was just really shocked. I was very nervous with the Kickstarter, mostly because if it doesn't get backed, we're doing 100% or nothing. If we don't get a full backing, nothing's going to come of it. And that was a little concerning to me because of how we want to make out more controllers coming down the pipe. But just in 8 hours, we've almost hit $10,000, and people are, and that's just U.S. only right now. We're only working with this Kickstarter to start off in the U.S., and I still have 29 days to go. I'm very excited and hopeful for it.
So Glenn, break down the pricing scheme for the people, because it is in yen, right? Because that's where your distributor is.
Correct.
So if you can break down so they know what they're getting into when they back, and from the lowest tier to the highest tier.
Right, and I'll talk real quick, because a lot of people have asked about the yen or the yang, if you will, yen yang. On Kickstarter, the person who initiates the Kickstarter, I guess found out that's going to initiate the price point from that region. And my partners, it's no secret, I never made a secret about it. They're in China. That's my partners who actually work on the software side and the mechanical design. And they started the Kickstarter. Next time I'll start it, just so it's in US dollars. But people have been like, why? And that's basically why. We just started out in his area of the woods, so it's going to come up initially in funding that way in yen. So what we try to do is, and again, a lot of people do this in Kickstarter. The good thing about it is, well, first of all, being on Kickstarter, you have to have a prototype, and I've shown that off before. It was very important to me that we actually had something to show people. Unlike Indiegogo, we don't need a prototype. You can just say, I want to make something, send me some money. And that's not how we operate. Also, we want to make sure anyone who does back our stuff has a lot of things to show for it. So one of the first things we did, if you will basically start at $50 to try and back this product, we actually made a special Tron themed spinner. So it's my spinner, the same technology for the spinner, but the top will 100% match the arcade machine's spinner. So if you want to build your own Tron cabinet, you can get that for $50. And if you pledge $100, you'll get that spinner, and you'll also get my Tron Joystick kit, which is the joystick. It lights up. It's got the encoder board, everything that's included with that. If you go to $150, you'll get the Star Wars yoke at that price point. And if if you go, I think it was $200, and I might be wrong. I'm pretty sure it was $200 or $250. I'll have to check the Kickstarter. You would get everything. So that means you would get the Tron spinner, you would get the Tron joystick, you would get the Star Wars joystick, you would get my trackball 12-in-1 board. So we're including everything in that. And another thing people ask me a lot about the yoke is, what's so special about it? Alan One has one, and Arcade One Up has a pretty good one. And I will say, I agree. Arcade One Up actually came up with a pretty nice yoke. I tried it. I felt it. It's really good. The major point for this one is it's an all metal design. It's designed, you can use it in the home or put it in the actual arcade. Also, unlike the Allen one or the original Atari one or the one that Arcade One Up has, we're not using physical gears or potentiometers. Those are the weak points. In the arcade machine, they were infamous for the gears breaking or the potentiometer needing to be cleaned. We're going to use the same technology we use in my spinner. It's what's called a Hall effect, which means it's reading magnetic fields. And the good thing about that is there's no like resolution per se, because the magnetic field could be pretty much anywhere within a spectrum. So it'll be always pretty accurate and center very well. A couple things I had added to it, because the stick right now, it's going to be a USB interface. So it'll work with any PC, Pi, Mac. We're going to make sure it's compatible with the Arcade One Up Star Wars unit if you want it for that. Or just want to take like I did, I just took a regular Asteroids cabinet and converted it into a Star Wars cabinet. And also the At Games Legends. We want to make sure it's compatible with all of them. But the big thing was I wanted to make sure it did more than just that. So I made sure that we have it not only as an analog joystick, which is how it's set up right there, but it also will enable mouse emulation. So there are some games. There's older games, which I really like. One's called the Battle of Yavin, and the other one's Battle of Endor. They're older, early 2000s Star Wars games, but they only use a mouse. So pretty much for those two games, I made sure that we could go from a joystick to a mouse mode for that. And you have 4 independent buttons. And what you see here is kind of what you get on the Arcade One Up, the Allen One, and the arcade machine. It actually goes further into the unit. That's it. It cuts off right there. Everything's inside here. It's metal. And if people really want something a little more, I guess, stepping up, if you look at my spinner and how that's designed, like a tank, that's kind of what we're going with right here, but at a minimal price point. And I'm very, very thankful for the positive feedback I'm getting just on the Kickstarter alone for a couple of hours. I'm very thankful for that.
So there was questions in the YouTube chat. They Broken Quad wants to know, when can Yin get it? That's the way he said it. When
can Yin get it?
Yeah, when can you get it?
Well, if the Kickstarter goes through as planned, I mean, it's 30 days for this. If we do make the mark of $30,000, we'll continue with it, and we're shooting for July 2020 for people to start getting it in their hands.
Oh, there you go. I thought the Kickstarter ended at. I apologize. That's how I answered. I said maybe Q3, but no, that's cool. July 20.
No, we've been ready. We were in talks with a lot of people about this earlier on. But again, these things are very expensive. Just to give you guys an idea, when you did the trackball, people didn't realize that it's really expensive to make the molds, and the trackball mold alone was over $20,000.
Wow.
So we basically had to use all the funds we got from the spinner to go into that mold. And then the Tron joystick was either $26,000 or $27,000 for that mold. So that's where a lot of the money comes from. So we're just really trying to make sure we have enough money because even though the machine is metal, it's all metal, the actual parts here are going to be an industrial hardened plastic. That's not going to be metal. That's going to be very hard to actually make in metal. So that's going to be the only part that's plastic, but it's going to be very solid where someone can hit me on the head and knock me out. It'd be pretty easy to do.
I want to say that was a shot toward Michael. I think
I just wonder how easy it is going to be to map the controls. I'm not going to touch it.
Probably.
I will help you out, Steven. I'm going to make sure you're good.
Oh boy!
Good luck with that.
Promises you can't keep.
Well, thank you very much. And the other thing I just did a video on recently, just really quickly, was Al Link with his LED Marquis. I think that's a pretty nice design, and I'm actually on his behalf talked to a couple of other manufacturers to see if that can get incorporated into some designs. But that's a very promising thing to have, your Marquis change as you pick the different games. We've seen it a couple of times before, but it's never really been a product that people can purchase fairly easily. So Al looks like he's very well ahead of the game as far as that goes. and it looks like a really nice product. So I'm trying to help him out, and hopefully that people who haven't seen the video are seeing it right now. And it's that Marquis right up there, and it's using LED technology, the same technology they use on these big billboards. Like if you go down to Madison Square Garden, down in the city, got those huge televisions out there. That's the same type of technology that's used for it. So it's very robust. Right now, I think it starts around 250 for unassembled or 300 assembled. Some people say, oh, it's a little too high, but they have to remember this is very low quantities right now. It's just basically a startup with him. A fan of service, a love project he has going on. So he's hoping to get the price down later on. But like anything, when you buy anything as an early adopter, generally it's going to cost you more. I mean, buy the first club we used as cavemen to knock out the cave women. I'm sure that cost a lot more back then.
But
until now, where we're not allowed to use it at all.
But is it easy to map? Asking for a friend.
I have a funny feeling he would have no problem with the club. I really think he'd be okay with that.
Well, is it 250 rupees, yen, dollars? Just checking.
How many clay pots do you have to smash to get those rupees? Yeah.
Oh, actually, I heard it was much worse than the CDI games. Like every step you had to smack a clay pot to get a ruble, a rupee, whatever it was called, out of there.
Again, we're asking for a friend.
Yeah.
I'm assuming I don't know the translation of yen, but fortunately, when you go on there, it will translate it to US dollars. It shows up as yen initially, but it will translate to dollars, which is something never have any, but I know of them. I have a son. Every time I go in my pants pocket, there's butterflies come out. I had money. I don't know where it went. It just kind of vanished. I don't know how that happens.
Well, either way, guys, get behind it. It looks like a fantastic opportunity and product. Glenn's got a lot of cool things going. I'm looking forward to seeing you reach that goal. Maybe even by next week, you'll say you hit 20 or 30,000, and you'll be ending this and getting it, rolling anytime soon. We're going to get into some of this gameplay. We're going to have Mike and Mike talk to us a little bit about the gameplay here of the RetroMania. Last week, we talked about with at Games that they brought out some firmware. If you guys missed it last week, this is the upcoming firmware for this week. That's going to be out is the custom background image for those of you that want to have like Stevie Richards, like he did with the side art. He had his custom image put on, but if you want to have that as your wallpaper desktop, if you will, on the at Games Legend, you're going to have that ability. Also, the system health settings. To let you know that your system is running at optimal, or maybe you have some kind of issues going on that you can let at Games know about. That's going to be in there. The trackball support for Dragon Gun is also going to be in there, which is in the arcade net, as well as the more load and rewind features for more games. And I know, Doug, that was something last week that you were kind of alluding to. That was a pretty good feature that they were starting to bring to more and more games.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you got those games like Mega Man that you die every 5 seconds or every time you take a leap or a jump. So, I mean, if you don't want to punch a hole in the wall, or throw something across the room, I mean, that rewind function is going to save a lot of your mental anguish and allow you to learn from your mistakes in a positive demeanor.
Yeah, so that's stuff that's coming this week. The Arcade 1-Up news, we don't really have anything for that. I mean, they really hammered it, as we get closer to CES. And Toy Shock, have we heard anything from Toy Shock? It's been quiet with these guys.
Very, very quiet. I think a lot of this has to do with Chinese New Year and, a lot of the manufacturing kind of in the lull and shutting down right now because of the holiday. So I think we'll probably hear some more things as, March approaches and everyone kind of gets back in the office and gets more in the swing of things.
Yeah, Douglas hit it right on the head. That's exactly what's going on. All the China's pretty much shut down right now. They're all on vacation for a little while. All the manufacturing plants aren't doing a thing. So we had CES. There was actually still a lot to dissect from CES. That'll tie us over a little bit longer.
So that's going to be, that's our news for this week. All right, you all can go home. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so Michael and Mike, let's have you guys kind of dive in a little bit here to this gameplay and talk about this for the RetroMania. I'm assuming we're looking at the title screen here, right?
Yep. So we're planning on, you know, several different modes. Obviously, we'll have like a tag team mode similar to the original WrestleFest, and then a retro rumble. Um, a lot more arenas to wrestle in. What we're seeing right now is the NWA Power set, which came together pretty quickly after we saw the first episode of NWA Power. I grew up. The first wrestling I watched was NWA Jim Crockett Promotions when I was like 6 or 7 years old, which is what got me started really loving wrestling. And so when we were able to sign NWA, we wanted to take advantage of that license. And when I saw the first episode of NWA Power, I sent it to my environmental artist. I'm like, recreate this in our engine, you know? So within like 2 weeks we had it, which we sent that over to the NWA, and that's when they were like, oh, we're going to do a commercial with this. So that's when the I'm Going Retro commercial came out a little bit later.
Very cool. So now are you designing all this, or do you have a designing team for this, or how much of this hands-on do you have?
Yeah, so I wrote the design document myself. So my background is software engineering. My primary business is finance and accounting software, which is kind of boring. So I like my job, but don't get me wrong. I like the interaction with people, problem solving, that nature of it. But as far as the debits and credits is a little dry. I started out in public accounting actually, which is even more dry until I moved over to software. But eventually, I got to a point where I always wanted to make a video game, and I decided that's what I was going to do. So I wrote the design document for the whole thing. I probably started writing it 7 years ago, and then the last 2 years, I really decided to make it a commercial project because I knew in order to do it right, I was going to have to lay out some funding for it. So the only way I was willing to do that was if I was going to have some type of return. And not to say that that's my driving factor isn't to make money, but I think I want to. With that said, I do want to make money just to at least cover cost, and I think we can do a lot better than that in order to pay. You know, like we do have royalties to like the NWA and stuff. That they're banking on it being a little bit bigger than that, but it's really a passion project for me, something I really want to do. So I have my hand in the design. I've written some code, very little bit. I've even drawn some pixels, and I'm not really an artist, but just my hands everywhere in it. But I'm the least experienced person making the game. So everyone pretty much working on it has more experience in either wrestling, programming, or artwork than I do.
Interesting. And I noticed too, we're not seeing much of Stevie Richards here. We're seeing a lot of the Road Warriors here. How does that make you feel there, Michael?
Oh, you can't go get to this part until you visit the Stevie Richards Fitness Training Facility. We were very lucky to have that. So no, Stevie Richards Fitness is in that game. I'm in story mode, and some of the stuff I'm going to be putting up on the YouTube channel will involve story mode with myself and Johnny Retro, who is John Morrison. So we call him Johnny Retro in the game, and also you'll be able to play that by the time PAX East comes around. Correct, Mike?
Yeah, that's what we're shooting for.
So looking at the roster here, it looks like there's 4 guys that you start out with, and I assume as you're going through story mode, just like any other wrestling game, you're unlocking characters as well.
Well, reason there's only 4 there is that's all we can play with right now.
Right, sure.
All right, but we're not gonna. We probably won't force lock that many. It's kind of, some people like that, some people can't stand it when you have to unlock everybody. We definitely want to have some surprises in there. With that said, we want to have some surprises in there. So there'll be definitely some surprises in the game mode. And we were joking before we came on.
I gave mine out.
I was gonna say, can we get Glenn in there and then have a fake Chris Jericho, and we'll just call him Cool Toy? Can we do that?
But yeah, we definitely want to do things like that. Like all this stuff in like 2 days. Even if you look at our backgrounds right now, can't see them right here, but if you look off to the right or off to the left, sometimes you'll see a robot in there or somebody dressed in a in a fox costume or an alien, you know, things of that nature, which is kind of a nod to Matt Mania, which had like Darth Vader in the audience and different
nice
things
little
like
Easter
that.
eggs.
Yeah, exactly. So we want to do a lot of that kind of stuff. And just anything that we can, you know, in making this game, my number one question, anytime we have a new feature that we want to add or something like that, the question is it fun? You know, and that's
Right.
what we're really going for. We're not going for a simulation like a Fire Pro, which is awesome and super deep, but that's not the type of game I wanted. If I want that, I'll play Fire Pro. You know, I'm going for more of a fast-paced arcade style gameplay, and anything that can make the game more fun, we want to add to it. So, and I think just seeing those little Easter egg things, it's fun. You'll see that, you'll notice it like the 100th time you play it, you may see something that you never noticed before, you know?
Yeah.
I think Mike, oh God.
No, go
No,
ahead.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think Mike is being very modest too, because the whole creative process with drawing these sprites and these pixels and everything in the game, this is thousands upon thousands. I don't know the exact number, Mike. You can speak on that, but these are drawn characters, drawn environments. It's not a if you throw it into the software and it just kind of auto completes it.
Yeah, so it's the pixel art, all the backgrounds are hand drawn pixel by pixel. So I think we have like 13 in there. There's a combination of just re-skinning some rings, but there's at least 8 to 10 very unique environments that were all hand drawn. And then the wrestlers themselves, I think we have 300 to 400 animations currently, and then each character has 1,000 to 1,200 different hand drawn sprites in each of the characters. So it's a lot of artwork. Right now we have 6 different artists working on just the characters alone to try to get them all finished as quickly as we can.
That'll be. Have you run into any problems trying to secure not licenses, but what do you call that when you
Character likeness?
character? Yeah, like a character. Have you had any problems?
No, it is a
doing that?
license. One guy was a complete a-hole who may
Really?
or may not be on this call right now. But
Well, again,
other than
don't do
that-
this to me. My God.
other than
Wasn't that bad?
no, you know, and I guess, you know, and really Michael can speak to this he probably knows exactly what we were up against because he knows everybody just about on our roster, you know what I mean? So, but for the most part, it was pretty, once we got a hold of people, it was pretty easy. The guys we signed were somewhat easy to deal with.
Well, the reason,
you know, but there was a lot of other people we talked to that it's just either they were worth it and we couldn't pay them what they wanted, or they weren't worth it and we didn't want to pay them what they wanted. You know what I mean?
The reason I ask is because WWE just re-signed John Morrison, and I didn't know if that kind of throws a monkey wrench in things. Like once WWE signs a wrestler again, no matter what contract, does that kind of, do you have to give them rights now because they own that character per se? I mean, how does that work?
They don't own Johnny Retro.
Well, but I meant
it's,
like you know, his likeness. You know, that's
right. Well, so our contract predates their contract, so ours isn't exclusive. So like Michael could go in and be in another BWO video game tomorrow if he wanted to. You know what I mean? All of our stuff was as wrestler friendly as we could make it. We weren't trying to lock people into anything. But all of our stuff also, like for Morrison specifically, our contract with him was months before he signed back with WWE. So there's nothing, even if they wanted to do something, there was nothing they could do about it. But he was upfront with them because they did their due diligence, and he had to disclose that, I'm sure, to them before they signed him anyway.
Sure. And Joseph in the chat room, he wants to know: are there double team moves that you can do?
Yes, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're
texting. When we were talking about it. Oh, go ahead. You're the expert. I'm just speaking.
No, it's fine. We're actually in the process of testing the Doomsday device now. That's the first one we're putting in,
awesome.
And one of the more complex ones. And it never really, in the arcade, you just kind of would come in and they do it. We actually force you to tag your partner to actually do it. But yeah, we're definitely doing double team moves, and we're trying to do them a little bit differently than other 2D games. Like I liked even just the simple double team moves, like you and your partner throw them into the ropes and both do a back elbow or a double clothesline and things like those kind of double team moves. Or I throw him into the ropes, I drop down, he jumps over me, and my partner hits him with a power slam. So some stuff is scripted, but some stuff is like kind of spontaneous depending on what your move set is. But you can do like a leapfrog or a drop down to the opponent and then follow that up with a move, one that's already in your repertoire.
All right, character suggestion: the Midnight Rockers. Just saying.
I think there's probably licensing issues with that.
Oh, come on, man. It's got to be something you can know. I know. Mr. Hall of Fame,
Well,
Mr. WrestleMania.
Well, you say that, it's funny. So one of the biggest things we get are suggestions of who we should put in the game, right? So, but the best, we got a DM from somebody, and it was, hello, you should add, and then it literally listed 100 different wrestlers.
Oh my!
And then it said thanks at the end of it. It was the greatest DM I've ever received.
You just respond back, absolutely, will
Yes,
do.
done.
Yeah.
Well, you never even thought of that. You know what I mean? Glad that those people made you aware of those 100 wrestlers that you just you're so absent-minded you didn't even think of it. I was going to follow up with the double team was like the thing that we talked about, and the thing that I can see happening is that reaction like you get with Fire Pro, where you're like, oh my God, I didn't like that situational thing, the spontaneous double team move that you weren't expecting, which to this day with Fire Pro, I still say, oh wow, how did that happen? And I think that's part of the charm and the heart of the video game, which is missing for how many years with the 2K series. I mean, they're brutal. I mean, they were running literally at 1 frame per second last year on Nintendo Switch, which RetroMania Wrestling is going to be available on the Switch as well as PS4 and Xbox One and Steam, right, Mike? So
Yep.
pretty much covering everything.
Yep.
It's amazing to have something with heart. I think that with the crowd, with the audience that you guys talk to each and every week with these arcade games and retro stuff, they're looking for those types of games once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's just not enough variety from wrestling standpoint. Like I said earlier today, and we're just trying to bring something a little bit different, a little bit faster paced than Fire Pro, kind of like a 2D All Stars, but not quite over the top. But I think there's a lot of room in this, and just retro gaming in general. With I think that our prime audience is probably going to be roughly guys I'm talking to on right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People who are into retro games and we think are really gonna love it.
So here's a question for you. Like for the guys that are out there, obviously it's coming out later this year. Do you have any plan for any kind of open beta for some of these guys that maybe can give you feedback? Guys that are in the chat room, anybody that wants to kind of get on it, is there a plan for that, or is this just strictly something that you're just going to release and go?
No, I think so the way we've been getting feedback currently, we went to Too Many Games, which is right near my house last year, and I would say over 100 people played it there. We got really good feedback, so we knew I was so nervous going there. That was the first time more than me and my kids had played the game, and the people actually working on it. And I was like, no one's going to come to our booth and play it, and if they do, they're not going to like it. That's what I went in thinking. I was very pessimistic. But everybody who came in really liked it, and we got great feedback, and this was almost 6-7 months ago now. We've done so much more since then. So we've gotten feedback there. We've gone to Tommy Dreamer invited me to the House of Hardcore show, so we got a lot of feedback there. And then we're going to go, Stevie or Michael and I are going to go to PAX East, and that's probably going to be the biggest one yet as far as the number of people that are going to play it. So that's our primary testing, but I have had people contacting me about beta testing. Some have worked out better than others. Just some people say they want to do it, but they don't really want to. They just want to play it once or twice before it goes. So we're really looking, I don't know if I want to do a huge open beta, but if you really want to help test it and are willing to give feedback, we had just opened a Discord server as well, that people are starting to come into. We did that, I think, yesterday. We just sent out the link. So if you want to reach out, it's an open invitation, and if you're serious about it, we'll trade a couple emails As long as you're willing to sign an NDA, we'll get you helping out if you really want to do it.
The reason I say that is because the other company that made, let's say, version 2020, without calling them out on it, was an utter and absolute disaster of a wrestling game. Probably one of the worst ones I actually took it back to the store and they actually gave me my money back because of that. And I know the damage control and they've been fixing things, but in all reality, I'm not saying yours is like that because obviously we saw the video, but that's the reason I'm asking that, because obviously they didn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to pile it on too much, because I just from a software engineering standpoint, I think they were, and being a big corporation, we don't have the same constraints, I'll say, as they do. They have a lot more resources than we do, obviously, but we don't have to answer to a stockholder. So we don't have to rush this game out. It'll release when it's done. We want to get it out as soon as possible, obviously, because we've been doing a lot of marketing around it leading up to this. So, but yeah, we're definitely testing it. We have like 4 or 5 people testing it daily, almost every build. Our Trello, we use Trello, and it's filled with different issues that we're addressing. So I think we're doing a pretty good job that's kind of a first level beta testing. We definitely want to, as we get a little closer though, we definitely want to start opening it up to more people.
Well, I think it'll be good, and I know what I said to the other game. I said best of luck in your future endeavors, right there, Michael.
Got it. I know that saying.
No,
I just have a
looks
quick
good.
question, if I can throw in there real quick.
Yes, please
What
do.
I saw on you talk about the software and the programs. What's been your biggest challenge on that side? Obviously, I'm not talking about licensing. I'm talking about the programming aspects. What was your biggest challenges within there? Was it finding programmers that can do it? Was it finding, I don't know, the right person to code the part of the game? What was just the hardest thing you had in that process?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's funny. It's not necessarily the technical piece of it, although there are some technical issues. But the first thing was my lead programmer wasn't a wrestling fan. So I said, initially I was like, well, we need to do the Irish whip. He's like, what the hell is an Irish whip? Is it like, do I need to put a flag? Is it a real whip that they use?
You're speaking a different language at that point.
Right. And so that was probably the biggest challenge of getting my lead programmer up to speed on just wrestling terminology. And just being able to understand, because there's like even some, like, for example, I was actually talking to him yesterday, and it was, being able to move on the apron, the ring apron, up and down in a tag team match. Now you're not allowed to just walk into the ring, but I want him to move up and down. And then he was like, but it's going to make it a lot harder if he can tag his opponent anywhere on the side. I'm like, oh no, he has to be in the corner in order to tag into the match, right? And now I know they don't do it as much anymore, but initially when I grew up watching it, and probably when Stevie was or Michael was wrestling more, you actually held a white rope, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you had to hold onto that rope, or your hand had to be on the corner or something to make the tag. And he's like, well, why? Like, I had to explain like little things like that to him. And I go, don't worry, wrestling fans know where they have to go to make the tag. Like, if you've played a wrestling game before, and even if you haven't, you'll figure that out pretty quickly.
So,
but I'd say that's the biggest thing.
Angel asks in the chat room too, is there going to be objects like steel chairs? He said wheelchairs, things like that you can clobber your opponent with.
So we have chairs in there already.
Nice.
And we definitely want to add more weapons. It's like on the list of things to do. But right now we're still just we have our like one-on-one match is pretty much done. Works very well. We have to tweak difficulty settings, and we still have to tweak AI. But I think it plays really well. And then we're hopefully going to be finishing up a standard tag team match in the next week or two. And once those two are done, then it's easy to add like a 3-way tag match, or a three-man tag, 6-man tag, 8-man tag, and then add like a tornado tag, or a 3-way, 4-way, and things like that. And then the rumble match as well will be very easy to just build out once we're finalized the tag team mode. So hopefully that answers that.
Cool.
In terms of gameplay, what kind of gameplay mechanics are we looking at? Is it certain button combinations perform a certain sequence of moves, or is it kind of randomized like WrestleFest was back in the day?
It's kind of, I would say it's like a hybrid between WrestleFest and Fire Pro would be the best
Okay.
way to describe it. So we did keep that randomness that WrestleFest had in instances. And one of the big reasons we added that is because I got to a point where my 15-year-old son, or now 16, kept beating me because he got the timing down and I didn't. So I needed a way for, but what we found was, it was funny and he was loving it, but it wasn't fun for other people to play against him. You know what I mean? If he could win the grapple every time, because we had that similar Fire Pro style grapple timing. But now we have it where, one, it's a slider, so you can get how precise you actually want that mechanic to be. But we also just added a randomness to it, so it's not as predictable. It's not purely talent based. You know what I mean?
Good.
There is
So it's not like
there is a
not like a Bo Jackson in football, where once you got that character, you knew you weren't going to win because that guy had Bo Jackson. You were done.
right. There's certain things like we wanted it to be fun for everybody to play and not just dominate once you got the timing down. So, and there's other aspects to it as well, like kicking out of a finisher is a big deal. We have a near fall kind of event at the end. That doesn't happen all the time, but it happens often enough where you'll see it and you'll pop for it.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But it's an auto grapple. It's 6 buttons. So you have a weak, when I said the Fire Pro part of it, you do have a weak, medium, and strong, a run button, a taunt button, and a tag button. So there are 6 buttons. So you can do 12 different grapple. Once you have them in a headlock, it still goes from a tie up to a headlock similar to WrestleFest. And then it builds out from there.
Awesome.
Nice.
So
nice, very nice.
So what we're gonna do now is, for everybody that's been kind of hanging out here, we're gonna get into more Q&A in the post show. But at this time, we're gonna wrap up the actual show. And we want to thank Michael Hermonn for joining us today from RetroManiaWrestling.com. Go check it out. What's the projected release time? I know you said you can release at any time, but when you
Told you not to answer that. Ask that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know what? Everybody's going to ask that question.
Michael, the answer is you're going to release it on a Tuesday.
Right, yeah.
No, he's going to end it on. He's going to release it on a day that ends in Y.
All
There
right.
you go.
There you go.
Well, so we are, initially we said first quarter. We were first quarter, and this was, 2 years ago. First quarter of 2020 seemed a long way away. Right? So we are still trying to get it done by the end of March. Like, that's what we're getting to. I'll tell you, it's probably going to slip to Q2. And I don't want it to slip any further than that. But with that said, we're not going to release something that's not finished.
Agreed.
So, being a kind of the buck stops with me. I make the final decision. If it's not ready, it's not ready. I think the fan base that we're growing now will appreciate more the game if it slips a little. And I'm not saying Duke Nukem style slipping, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if it slips a little bit, they'd rather the game be complete and them not have to, download patches day one to even play the game. So it'll be done. It'll be ready when it's ready. But we're still trying to push as soon as possible. So I would say somewhere between March and June, if I had to put a date on it.
There you go. So make sure you guys check it out and stay tuned, and you'll see this guy on the roster. Check him out, StevieRichardsFitness.com. Thank you so much, Michael, for joining us and adding to this, because it's going to be a fun game, man.
Definitely. Hopefully the controls are already mapped when I get my copy.
Hopefully Glenn's, if you back Glenn's, hopefully his comes mapped too. Also want to thank Mr. Douglas Smith, Cool Toy. You guys know him. Check him out. YouTube.com/CoolToy.
Thanks, guys.
And also, I'm not even going to try and list every single place that you can find this guy, but just look up Glenn's Retro Show. Yes. Go to youtube.com/Glenn's Retro Show and make sure you guys go like, comment, subscribe. Check out all his retro Atari goodness, because this man loves his Atari.
I do, and you know what? I love one other thing very much. Well, Michael and Steven were just talking about. They're not going to release it until it's really ready to be released, and that's just. I think everyone would be fine with that. I mean, people want it to be good, and that just shows they want to release a good quality product that's got the buttons mapped properly. And I just think that speaks worlds right there. That he's got money invested. Obviously, he wants to get at least recoup it, but he's willing to wait on that till it's the right time and the game is ready. And I like that.
Well,
my Pac-Man controls are mapped pretty well, so I have no problem.
Well, with that said, guys, if you're here live, you're going to get a little bit of the after show, get your questions answered the best we can because we don't have the extra call-in, but we can get your questions answered, and we do want to thank those. And I want to thank PK for sending me the note to check the time to let me know that we're coming up at the top of the hour to make sure I get that ended. So thank you, even though he's in.
We've been very good at this.
We are, but we've got help from the folks that stand behind us, the guys at Hack Games. Thank you so much for that and keeping Glenn on straight. Next week we have RGT85. He'll be joining us.
That's right.
He's going to be upset that missed you, Michael, this week because he's a 1 week off. But we'll see what happens next week. But
maybe we get an autograph or something to send out to him.
He only calls me when he needs some kind of collaboration with one of his openings that he gets a lot more views than my YouTube channel. So that's fine. I'm just here to help whenever he needs, whatever he needs. Just you give me a call whenever you need anything, RGT.
But is his buttons
He's
mapped?
a good guy.
He's a good guy. He's a really good guy.
He's a very good guy. Very good guy.
So next week we have that for you guys. So tune in next week. And guys, we really appreciate you coming out and watching us. Check out this Sunday, I believe Ralph and Console Kits will be doing their show. What's he calling it now? One Up Weekly? Is that what it's called now? Is that what they settled on? So
yeah,
guys,
they were Glen Up Weekly, but they changed it. I don't know why Glen Up Weekly. It sounds better to me, but whatever.
Because I already had your license rights.
Oh, gosh, I forgot. I gave it away again. I'm sorry. I'm bad.
So we may see Glenn in the RetroMania going against Stevie after all I don't know. Anything's possible at this point. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time on the Retro Buzz.